The United States just issued its most direct warning yet: fall in line or face consequences. Canada was supposed to buy 88 American-made F-35 fighter jets. The deal was done. The contracts were signed. Everyone assumed the future of Canada's Air Force was already written in Washington's ink. Then Sweden walked into Ottawa with a proposal so aggressive, so strategically devastating, that it stopped defense analysts mid-sentence. This wasn't a sales pitch. It was a declaration of industrial war against America's most expensive weapons program. And Canada is now caught in the middle of a fight that could reshape NATO itself. For decades, Canada has delayed, debated, and deferred its fighter jet decision. The aging CF-18 fleet is falling apart. Pilots are flying aircraft older than they are. The Royal Canadian Air Force is stretched so thin that some experts question whether Canada can actually defend its own airspace. The F-35 seemed inevitable. Expensive, yes. Complex, absolutely. But it was the safe choice. The American choice. Then something extraordinary happened. Sweden's royal family landed in Ottawa, leading the largest business delegation in Swedish history. Behind them walked the CEO of Saab, defense ministers, and representatives from over 30 Swedish companies. They didn't come to make an offer. They came to make history. Within hours, Sweden and Canada signed a new strategic partnership covering defense, trade, and Arctic security. The signal was unmistakable. Sweden wants Canada, badly. And the offer they brought makes the F-35 deal look like a hostage negotiation. Saab is proposing to build the Gripen fighter jet inside Canada. Not assemble it. Build it. With full technology transfer. Complete access to mission software. Sovereign control over upgrades and modifications. No foreign government would have a kill switch on Canadian jets. The CEO of Saab stood before Canadian media and made it explicit. 9,000 to 10,000 jobs, manufacturing facilities in Ontario or Quebec. A research and development ecosystem that would revive Canada's aerospace industry for generations. This isn't buying aircraft. This is buying independence. Washington is not pleased. The American ambassador has publicly warned Canada of serious consequences if it abandons the F-35. He has argued that NORAD requires both nations to fly the same aircraft to remain interchangeable. In diplomatic terms, that is a threat. But here is what the ambassador did not mention. The F-35 program is collapsing under its own weight. The critical Block 4 upgrade is now $6 billion over budget and 5 years behind schedule. The Government Accountability Office has released report after report documenting what it calls a program that continues to overpromise and underdeliver. The version Canada intends to purchase will not even be fully operational until the early 2030s. The engine upgrade necessary for advanced capabilities has been pushed back indefinitely. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin delivered aircraft an average of 238 days late last year. Some jets sat in storage for over a year because the software simply did not work. Canada has already paid for 16 F-35s. Those aircraft will arrive at American bases next year for training, but the remaining 72 jets are now under review. Prime Minister Mark Carney ordered that review immediately after taking office. His government is openly discussing a mixed fleet, 16 F-35s for stealth missions, 60 to 70 Gripens for everything else. The math is brutal. The Gripen costs less to buy. It costs less to operate. It costs less to maintain. And unlike the F-35, Canada would actually own it. Several major NATO allies already operate mixed fleets. Italy flies both F-35s and Eurofighters. Britain does the same. The argument that Canada must fly only American jets is politics, not military doctrine. But this decision is about more than economics. It is about survival. The Arctic is no longer a frozen wasteland at the edge of the map. It has become one of the most contested regions on Earth. Russia has built or refurbished over 400 military bases along its northern border. New facilities are rising on Wrangel Island, directly across the Bering Strait from Alaska. Surface-to-air missile networks, radar installations, coastal defense systems capable of denying access to vast stretches of polar waters. Russia recently sealed off large sections of the Barents Sea for military exercises that included cruise missile launches over Arctic territory. And Russia is not alone. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state despite being nowhere near the Arctic Circle. Beijing has invested over $130 billion in Russian port infrastructure along the Northern Sea route. Chinese research stations in Norway and Iceland are now under investigation for potential dual-use military purposes. In this environment, Canada cannot afford aircraft designed for warm climates and large support bases. The Gripen was built for exactly these conditions. Swedish engineers designed it to operate from 500-meter snow-covered runways. It has been tested at temperatures below -26°C in Swedish Lapland. The F-35, by contrast, has experienced repeated cold weather failures. A crash in Alaska exposed vulnerabilities in its hydraulic systems. Reports indicate that during severe winter conditions, a significant percentage of F-35s stationed in Arctic regions remain grounded. The Gripen requires a ground crew of 6 and can be rearmed and refueled in under 10 minutes. The F-35 requires specialized infrastructure, extensive ground support, and hours of preparation between missions. For defending 3 coastlines and the largest Arctic territory in the Western Hemisphere, operational simplicity is not optional. It is essential. What makes Sweden's timing so remarkable is what happened just weeks before the Canadian state visit. Ukraine signed a letter of intent to purchase 100 to 150 Gripen fighters from Sweden. If completed, this would be one of the largest fighter jet deals in European history. Ukrainian pilots are already training on the aircraft. President Zelensky has called the Gripen one of the most effective platforms for defending his nation's airspace. Sweden is now looking for partners to expand production capacity. Canada is not being asked to buy jets from a distant manufacturer. Canada is being invited to become part of a growing alliance of nations that see the Gripen as the backbone of their air defense. Brazil already builds Gripens domestically. Thailand operates them. The Czech Republic and Hungary fly them within NATO. South Africa has deployed them for decades. This is not a fringe aircraft. This is a proven system with a combat record that extends from Libya to joint NATO exercises across Northern Europe. Europe itself is rearming at a pace not seen since the end of the Cold War. The European Union has committed to mobilizing €800 billion for defense. Germany alone is spending over €100 billion on military modernization. The world is changing. America's dominance in the fighter jet market is being challenged not by adversaries, but by allies who have decided that sovereignty matters more than interoperability with a single partner. Canada must decide which side of that divide it wants to stand on. This is not a procurement decision. It is an identity decision. One path leads to continued dependence on American technology, American contractors, and American permission. Canada would fly aircraft it cannot modify, cannot maintain independently, and cannot upgrade without foreign approval. The other path leads to something Canada has not experienced since the cancellation of the Avro Aero over 60 years ago. A genuine aerospace industry, thousands of high-skilled jobs, technology transfers that would benefit Canadian companies for decades. Sweden is not just offering aircraft. Sweden is offering a partnership between 2 Arctic nations that share similar values, similar geography, and similar challenges. The Swedish defense minister said it plainly. In difficult times, you should choose your friends wisely. Sweden is choosing Canada. The question is whether Canada is ready to choose itself. The F-35 may be the more advanced aircraft in certain narrow categories. But capability means nothing if the jets are grounded, delayed, or locked behind software restrictions controlled by another government. The Gripen may not be invisible to radar, but it will be reliable, it will be available, and it will be Canadian. Sweden did not just enter this conversation, they detonated it. Everything Canada assumed about its defense future has been thrown into question. The F-35 is no longer inevitable. The Gripen is no longer the underdog. What happens next will determine whether Canada spends the next 50 years as a customer or as a partner, as a dependent or as a sovereign nation capable of building, maintaining, and controlling its own air force. The stakes have never been higher. If you want more deep dive analysis like this, subscribe now and turn on notifications. The next major development could happen any day.